Okay, so there's a couple more options in here that are available all the time. The link is one. If I right-click on this link and say copy link location, I can paste the results of that into a email and send it to someone, and it'll give them a link directly back into eLogger to this specific record. Now I'm using Firefox for a demo here. That's the browser I'm using, so it says copy link location. I think if you're using IE, it says copy shortcut maybe. By the way, you can also use Chrome. This runs under Chrome. You can use your iPad, your iPhone, any browser that you have on your network. I mean, your iPhone or your iPad have to be on your network to access the application. But it works in browsers other than IE, I guess is my point. And then the other link that you'll always have is the report link. And if I click on the report link, it'll open a PDF document on the wrong monitor, of course. There we go. And it's just a snapshot of that single log entry, so you can have a hard copy. And of course, with any PDF, you can print a copy, you can save a copy, you can attach it to an email and send it to someone. So there's lots of different ways to communicate with the information in eLogger. Okay, I'm going to make a couple more quick entries. This next one, I'm going to make another communications one, but this time I'm going to click on the attachments link towards the bottom of the screen. Because in eLogger, with any log entry that you make, you have the ability to attach a document, a link or a URL, or an image, or all three of them, or multiples of all three of them. So to attach a document, I simply click on the Browse button and find something that's pertinent. It could be a Word document, an Excel document, a PDF, a CAD drawing, whatever it is you want to attach. And you can do as many documents as you want as well. URLs, you can just put the URL in there. And images work a little bit different, whereas they don't supply links to the images. They actually will display a thumbnail.
Hey, BJ, I have a quick question.
Sure, go ahead.
If you attach a picture and then does it become its own sort of thing, or does it just link to the location of the picture? So if the picture gets deleted, is it going to disappear from here?
Well, what happens when you attach anything in eLogger, well, I shouldn't say that, a document or an image, it actually takes a copy of it from where you're attaching it and it moves it over to the eLogger server.
Okay.
So that it's always accessible. But what you have to remember then is if you attach a document from your desktop and then you make changes to it on your desktop, it's not updating the server. You would have to come back in here, delete the document, and attach the new one. It's not a document storage system. It's just a moment in time. Okay, so you can see that it's thumbnailed my images, and it'll just keep going until it fills the page up, and then it'll wrap around and create a new line. Okay, so I've attached a few things. I'll save my record. Again, I'm returned to my home page. The most current entry is at the top. You can see all my links here. If I wanted to see, let's say I'm a user who doesn't have access to do anything except look at this. If I wanted to see the image at its full size, I could just click on it and it'll open another window and display it at the size that it was attached at. Okay, so you guys following me? I'm going to go ahead and add one more entry. Actually, I'll probably add more than one, but I'm going to tell you I'm going to add one more entry. Now, with any of these categories that you create, you have the ability to create your own data entry screen. So this on shift one, I'm going to use that as my example. A lot of times in your industry, the first thing that's written in the logbook every day is something like, the foreman today is M. Mouse, and the employees working are Donald, Aladdin, and Goofy, and the manager is Pluto. Okay, so I can do this. I mean, you can certainly do that, and that can be your on shift. Or with eLogger, your administrator has the ability to create custom data entry screens. So when I choose my on shift, you can see that my screen changes up a little bit, and I have this on shift section on the bottom. And it makes it so much easier and cleaner for your users to add records. So now I can say, okay, my foreman is Mickey Mouse. My employees are Aladdin, Goofy, and Donald Duck. And the manager is Pluto, which is not one of my managers, so it's going to be Donald today. All right, so if I go ahead and save this, you're going to see that I have this nice clean entry. So it's this box compared to this. And yeah, you can get by with the comments. That's no big deal. However, let's say we were going to do a search and we wanted to know how many times Donald Duck worked in the last 60 days. If I searched for the word duck, I wouldn't find it because I didn't type Donald Duck. When you use forms like this, you force your employees to always be consistent, always spell things correctly, and always be neat. So it's just a win-win for everyone because they look so much better. Also, I neglected to say you can associate, which you've probably figured out by now, symbols with each category of information that you collect. So as your page fills up, it's easy to scroll down and look for the records or identify the records that you're looking for. And the other thing you can do is associate a color with your records. So my communications records are actually a light yellow. And if I were to go back a little bit in time here, because I can use this page to show more records. You can see I can use some really obnoxious bright colors and symbols to make things really stand out. So as I'm scrolling through, it took me about 2 seconds to find that I had a safety record or a safety entry made into my logbook. So it's very easy to pick things out if you use your colors and symbols appropriately. All right, back to our custom data entry forms that your administrator can build. And by the way, your administrator doesn't have to be an IT person or a developer, because I'm not a developer and I built all these screens in this database that we're looking at. There's a really nice user interface under system administration. These screens are very, very easy to build. Doesn't take much at all. So another example would...
I have another question for you.
Sure.
If something comes up as two different log categories, how does the coloring work then if you have like a safety and a communications?
Well, safety gets its own color, communications gets its own color. If you actually put 2 check marks in here, it's making 2 entries. Each one would be their own color. So you're not really assigning 2 categories to it. You're actually making 2 entries. There's not very many reasons why you would need to do that. I mean, if you had some, I can either tell you how other companies do it or talk to you about that, but it doesn't happen very often.
Okay, I guess the intent here is to create logs that don't have overlap as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay if there's some overlap. I mean, it's no big deal if I put 2 check marks in here and make 2 entries. You know, let's say maybe there's a group of people who have access to communications and another group of people who doesn't. You'd probably want to put it into 2 different logs so both of them could see the results. Okay, so on this maintenance entry that I'm making here, you can see the data entry screen that I've created down below. You can see that I have some black text and I have some blue text. Blue means that it's a required field, and your administrator decides which ones are required. But what that means is if I try to save this, it comes back and yells at me because it's a mandatory field. So it's forcing me to fill these fields in. So I'll go ahead and fill this in. Was a work order created? Yes. What was the work order number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I should probably say what this is all about. We'll say the pump is broken. Is it completed? Yes or no? I'm going to say no. And then this last one, email maintenance. This is just a field like any of these other fields, But in the administration section of eLogger, you have the ability to actually set up email rules, and you can put conditions on those. So I've created one that says anytime a maintenance log entry is made for a specific location in my hierarchy, if they say email maintenance is equal to yes, then I want these 3 people to get an email. Okay, so whoever is slamming their phone on the desk, if you have a mute button, are you guys hearing that? Or is it just me?
We heard it.
Okay. Anyway, so if you choose yes on the email maintenance, what it's going to do is it's going to go look up those rules, and it's going to send some emails out, and it's going to do it as soon as I hit the save button. So you can put email rules on all kinds of different forms. And I'll give you some more examples of forms that you can create, especially ones in your industry. For instance, I have a hourly data readings. And this is one that gets filled out. It's a real simple form. It's just a bunch of text boxes that accept numbers. And you punch the numbers in, and there's a rule that says anytime the MCC1B amps is greater than 5,000, send these 3 people an email. Or anytime the VAR on generator number 2 is less than 100, send this individual an email. So it's all depends on who's interested in what type of information. It just makes it so you're not constantly having to review the logbook. So if it's something real important, you're going to get an email. I also have one for, let me see here, contractors. And this is just to identify which contractors are on site and what their names are. And you could actually put like a start time and an end time field in here, so you could capture that information as well. One that I did for an electricity generator in California, actually I copied their form, and it looked something like this. And this was to report to NERC, I believe, either daily or per shift, something like that. But you can see that I mix and match drop-downs, radio buttons. We also have multi-select list, dependent list, dates, times, text fields, memo fields. And you just mix and match the different types of fields until you create a form to collect the information that you're looking for. So have I totally confused everyone, or are you following me?
No, it's so good.
Okay. So I'm going to stop talking about putting information into eLogger and switch to how we get information out of eLogger. So I talked about Donald Duck working, and the easiest way to find records in eLogger is through the quick search function, and that is up in the upper right-hand corner where it says search. And I can actually just type Donald and say, go get me all the records that say Donald. Now, if I know that I'm going to have thousands and thousands of records, it's probably a bad idea to use this because it's searching every single field in eLogger. Like using the name of a log or the name of a location, probably not a good idea because you probably want to narrow it down more than that. But for something that you don't think is going to be mentioned that many times, that'll work. So what I'm after here is I want to know how many times Donald Duck has worked as foreman. Now you see it brought this record back, but the foreman is Mickey Mouse, so I don't want that. So I can go through these 52 records now and count. Okay, here's 1, here's 2, but there's way better ways to do this. We have a tab here called the Search Logs tab. And when I click on the Search Logs tab, you can see it comes up with a section called Saved Searches. Each employee has the ability to create their own saved searches, and then it's provided to that employee in a drop-down list, and you can just pick your search and run it. And this is specific to an employee, it's not global, so each employee gets their own lists. But if you don't have a saved search, you can click on the Search Log Entries link, and basically every field in eLogger is searchable, even the fields that you create on the templates, on your custom data entry screens. You determine whether or not you want to search by those. So what we just said is we